Welcome back to another deep dive.
Yeah.
We are so glad you could join us again because today we are jumping into a fascinating stack of sources all about, well, basically sharing your life with a giant.
Right, a literal giant. It
Yeah.
is quite the topic.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine stepping over a sentient 150-pound piece of furniture just to get to your fridge.
Honestly, that is probably the most accurate way to describe it.
Right. Because today, our mission isn't to debate whether Newfoundland dogs are lovable. I mean, the sources make it very clear they absolutely are.
Oh, totally. They are incredibly sweet dogs.
But that's not what we're looking at. We are exploring the unfiltered, logistical, and physical reality of sharing a home with that much dog. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
If you walk into a house where Newfoundland lives, the environment tells a story immediately. You walk in and you see this massive water bowl on the floor.
Oh, yes, surrounded by the splash zone.
So yes, exactly. Like a permanent 2-foot radius of splash marks. And then you look at the wall nearby, and there's a designated Drool towel just hanging right there within arm's reach.
Because you are going to need it.
You really are. And then there's a heavy-duty grooming brush just sitting permanently by the front door because, well, that's just where it lives now.
Yeah, that scene you just painted, that is the reality of adapting your human habitat to a giant breed.
It really requires a total shift, doesn't it?
It does. And what we are exploring today is how a dog's massive physical size, when you combine it with its highly specific biological and emotional needs, it fundamentally restructures a household.
Right. It's not just a pet, it's a lifestyle.
Exactly. It dictates the geometry of your living space, the rhythm of your daily schedule, and definitely the realities of your monthly budget.
I actually want to start right there with the geometry of the space.
Oh.
Because as I was reading through the material, I was struggling with this, apparent contradiction.
Okay, what was the contradiction?
Well, if they're bred to be these robust outdoor working dogs, right?
Right.
Why does leaving them in a huge, securely fenced backyard cause so much psychological damage? I mean, if they're so huge, wouldn't they just prefer to be out back roaming around?
You would think so, but what's fascinating here is it all comes down to pack psychology.
Right.
Behavioral specialists actually refer to it as isolation-induced behavioral deterioration.
Wow, that sounds intense.
It is. You have to remember, these dogs were selectively bred for centuries to work directly alongside humans. I mean, hauling nets in freezing water, pulling carts, performing water rescues.
Like they're always with their people.
Exactly. Their brains are literally hardwired for proximity to their handler. So when you take a highly social, work-oriented breed and isolate it in a yard, they don't perceive that space as freedom to roam.
They perceive it as a punishment.
Yes, they perceive it as exile.
So wait, the yard actually becomes like a psychological trap for them?
Precisely. And that isolation manifests physically. It's not just sadness.
What happens?
Well, you start seeing unhealthy weight gain because a depressed dog becomes sedentary. They just stop moving.
Oh, that makes sense.
You also hear excessive, repetitive barking, and you see this phenomenon known as fence pressure.
Fence pressure. What is that?
It's a severe form of barrier frustration. The dog will obsessively pace the perimeter or literally push physically against the fence line, just desperate to breach the boundaries separating them from their people.
That is heartbreaking.
It really is. They absolutely need to be indoors, actively integrated into the flow of the household.
But, I mean, integrating an animal the size of a black bear into a standard home that creates immediate spatial friction.
Oh, without a doubt.
We're talking about narrow hallways, tiny kitchens, steep staircases. A dog this size doesn't just squeeze through a tight space.
No, they displace everything around them.
Right. If you have a small kitchen and the dog decides the cool tile is the optimal place to lower its core body temperature, your kitchen is functionally closed. You are not cooking dinner.
You're ordering takeout, yeah, because you are forced to become incredibly proactive with your interior design.
You have to plan around the dog.
Entirely. You have to map out where the cool resting spots are, where the orthopedic bedding goes, and where the feeding stations will live.
And you know you're going to be cleaning those areas constantly.
Constantly. And you also have to consider the flooring. Putting down heavy-duty, non-slip mats in high-traffic areas isn't about protecting your hardwood floors.
No.
No, it is an orthopedic necessity.
Oh, wow. because of their joints.
Exactly. Think about the physics of a 140-pound dog trying to stand up quickly on slick linoleum.
Oh, right. They just slide everywhere.
Right. Their paw pads cannot get traction, which causes their hind legs to splay outward. And over months and years, that unnatural splaying creates severe repetitive strain on their hip and knee joints.
So you are literally redesigning the floor plan to provide orthopedic friction. That is wild.
You have to.
Which means the dog is constantly by your side indoors, bringing all of its, well, biological elements directly into your living room.
And there are a lot of elements.
Yeah, namely drool, fur, and water. Here's where it gets really interesting, because I want to talk about the drool.
The famous Newfie drool.
Yeah, understanding the mechanism behind it turns a gross reality into this really fascinating biological insight.
Yeah.
Why is the drool so extreme with this specific breed?
Well, it is entirely anatomical. Newfoundlands possess very loose flews.
Flews. Like FLE does.
Yes, those are the pendulous upper lips that hang down over the lower jaw.
Oh, okay, got it.
And that is actually a functional design. If you are a dog swimming through freezing, choppy ocean water with a thick fishing net or even a drowning sailor in your mouth, you need the ability to breathe easily through the sides of your mouth without aspirating water.
Wait, really? So it's an evolutionary hack?
Exactly. It's a brilliant anatomical hack. But the evolutionary trade-off is that on dry land, those same loose lips completely fail to hold in saliva.
So gravity just takes over.
Pretty much.
So the drool towel hanging on the wall isn't a joke or an accessory, it is mandatory equipment.
It is constant management. You really have to learn the physiological triggers.
What triggers it other than just existing?
Well, the drool faucets open predictably around food and water, of course. But the volume also spikes dramatically with heat, with excitement, after moderate exercise, and definitely during car rides.
Oh man, so it just gets everywhere.
It coats your clothing, it flings onto the walls when they shake their heads, and it permanently details the interior of your vehicle.
You just have to accept it.
You do. It is a daily, low-level environmental reality.
But there is a vital distinction the sources make here regarding when drool stops being an annoyance and actually becomes a medical red flag.
Yes, this is so important. Daily situational drooling is the baseline, we know that.
Right.
But sudden profuse drooling that seems completely out of context, especially if it is accompanied by signs of distress, retching without actually producing anything, abdominal discomfort, or physical weakness, that is incredibly dangerous.
It's not just a messy dog at that point.
No. In deep-chested giant breeds, that specific combination of symptoms is a classic indicator of gastric torsion.
Which is commonly known as bloat, right?
Yes. Bloat. That is a life-threatening emergency where the stomach literally twists on itself. It requires immediate, rapid veterinary intervention.
That is terrifying. Okay, so
Yeah.
moving from the drool to the fur.
The fur is a whole other job.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you want the dog but not the double coat, you basically just want the idea of the breed, right? You're looking for a completely different species.
Exactly. Because the coat is the defining feature of their original utility. It is a true double coat.
And what does that actually mean structurally?
Well, the architecture of a double coat consists of a dense, woolly undercoat designed to trap body heat. It literally functions like thermal underwear.
Wow.
And then there's a longer, oil-coated top coat that repels freezing water.
So it's a high-performance survival suit.
Yes. But when you bring that complex, climate-defending biological system into a 70-degree, centrally heated living room, the shedding becomes a massive, ongoing environmental event.
And it isn't just vacuuming up tumbleweeds of hair, is it?
Oh, not at all.
The mechanics of a double coat mean that moisture gets trapped easily.
Yeah, it creates a microclimate against the skin.
Right.
If you don't maintain a strict routine of deep brushing, and getting a heavy-duty comb all the way down through the undercoat to the skin that trapped moisture and shed hair friction welds together,
Oh, that sounds awful.
it forms painful mats. So you have to target the mechanical friction points constantly.
Like where?
Behind the ears, deep in the armpits, across the chest, and definitely the belly.
And add to that the breed's deep-seated affinity for water. I mean, their instinct to find water means they're constantly bringing the outside in.
Always.
You're dealing with muddy paws, soaked beards dripping across the carpets, and the endless necessity of towel drying them after a rainstorm.
You have to dry them, or you risk hot spots and skin infections in that dense undercoat.
So basically, managing a biological thermos in a heated environment naturally rewires your entire daily schedule.
It absolutely dictates your day.
Because thermoregulation in a giant breed is vastly different from how a human cools down. We sweat.
Right, and dogs pant to evaporate moisture from their lungs and tongue.
But when you wrap a massive body in that thick, woolly undercoat, panting becomes highly inefficient.
Highly. If the ambient temperature in your house is 75 degrees, the microclimate underneath that dog's coat is significantly hotter.
Which perfectly sets up a logistical question I had about living spaces.
Okay, let's hear it.
Can an animal this massive, with those intense cooling requirements, actually survive in an apartment? Because conventional wisdom says big dogs need giant houses with giant yards.
Yeah, conventional wisdom often confuses square footage with quality of life.
That makes sense.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it turns out apartments absolutely can work, but it is a complex logic puzzle.
How so?
It relies entirely on the owner mastering the logistics of access and routine. A smaller space with a meticulous, dedicated walking routine and excellent air conditioning provides a vastly superior life compared to a giant yard where the dog is just ignored.
But the access part is the real hurdle, isn't it?
It's a deal breaker for a lot of people.
Think about the layout of your own place. If you are in a fourth-floor walk-up, how do you physically transport a 140-pound animal with a torn ligament down to the street to use the bathroom?
You don't. You cannot carry them.
Right.
Which means elevator access is non-negotiable for apartment living.
And it isn't just about managing injuries or senior dogs, is it?
No, it comes back to giant breed biology again. A Newfoundland puppy grows at an astonishing, explosive rate.
Like weeds.
Yeah. But their growth plates, the areas of developing cartilage at the ends of long bones, close much slower than in smaller breeds. It often takes up to 2 years.
2 years?
Yes. So forcing a 90-pound adolescent puppy to navigate steep staircases every single day puts immense mechanical stress on joints that are still soft and forming.
So you are essentially micro-traumatizing their hips and elbows before they even reach adulthood.
Exactly. You're setting them up for a lifetime of pain.
Okay, so assuming you have the elevator and the air conditioning sorted out, your daily routine becomes entirely dictated by the thermometer.
Pretty much.
You are waking up early for cool morning walks before the pavement heats up. The middle of the day is strictly for resting indoors.
Or maybe some low-impact mental training indoors.
Right, but you aren't going out for substantial movement again until the sun goes down and the ambient temperature drops.
You have to become hyper-aware of the physical environment. Hot pavement doesn't just cause discomfort. It causes severe thermal burns to their paw pads within minutes.
Ouch.
And a warm car can become lethal incredibly fast. Heat awareness shapes your daily schedule for a significant portion of the year in most climates.
But we also have to clarify that resting indoors during the heat of the day doesn't mean they don't need exercise.
No, not at all.
They aren't marathon dogs, but they aren't living sofas either.
Exactly. Regular, moderate movement is essential. You need to keep the dog moving to promote synovial fluid circulation in their joints.
Got to keep those joints lubricated.
Right, and to maintain muscle tone that supports their massive skeletal frame and to manage their weight.
What's the best way to do that?
Swimming is the ideal exercise
Because of the water.
because it is entirely zero impact while providing full body resistance. And remember, if they are under-exercised, the lack of stimulation leads right back to that isolation-induced behavioral deterioration we discussed earlier.
Right. This meticulous daily management of their biology naturally extends to how they interact with the world around them, too.
Social dynamics are a huge part of this.
And there is a cognitive dissonance here that I think needs addressing.
Let's address it.
On one hand, they possess this legendary gentle giant reputation. I mean, they're often thought of as the ultimate nanny dog, right?
Yes, very famous for that.
But on the other hand, you are managing an animal with the mass of an adult human. So if they're gentle giants, can we just let the kids climb all over them like a jungle gym? How do you reconcile a docile temperament with the sheer physical danger of that much weight moving around a living room?
You reconcile it through what is effectively an architecture of safety.
Okay, what does that mean?
The temperament of the breed is incredibly gentle, patient, and sweet. That is true. But the physics of a 150-pound body are entirely unforgiving.
Physics don't care about your temperament.
Exactly. A gentle dog accidentally bumping into a toddler or a fragile piece of furniture still generates a massive amount of kinetic energy. The adults in the household have to build and strictly enforce that architecture of safety.
So that means no climbing on the dog, regardless of how tolerant they seem.
Zero climbing. Absolutely none. No pulling at their ears or their coats.
Right.
You never disturb them when they're in a deep sleep either, because waking a giant breed abruptly can trigger a startled defense reflex.
Makes sense. Let sleeping giants lie.
Literally. And there is absolutely no teasing or chaotic activity around their food bowls. Even the most patient, bomb-proof dog possesses a biological limit for stress. They require a protected, quiet space to decompress away from the chaos of a busy family.
And that architecture of safety has to be portable too, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Because when you take a dog that large and that visually striking out into the world, you attract a crowd.
Like a magnet.
Yeah. People naturally want to approach, pet, and interact with a giant fluffy dog.
Which requires the owner to act as a physical buffer.
You have to run interference.
Yes. The breed is naturally friendly, but being swarmed by strangers invading their personal space on a sidewalk is overwhelming.
I would be overwhelmed too.
Anyone would. If an owner fails to set polite boundaries, the dog can develop leash reactivity or barrier frustration simply because they feel trapped and overwhelmed by the constant public attention.
And that physics issue we talked about extends to other pets in the house as well.
It really does.
A Newfoundland can certainly live peacefully with cats or smaller dogs, but the size mismatch completely changes the rules of engagement. I kind of think of it like driving a semi-truck in a bicycle lane.
That is a perfect mechanical analogy.
Right. The truck driver isn't acting maliciously, but the sheer physics of a wrong turn are catastrophic.
Exactly. A Newfoundland does not need an ounce of predatory intent to cause severe injury to a smaller animal.
It's just an accident waiting to happen if you're not careful.
Yeah, an enthusiastic play bow, a clumsy turn, or just trying to share a dog bed can result in a crushed limb for a small terrier or a cat. You have to actively monitor and manage the physical space between animals of vastly different sizes.
Managing the space, the heat, the joints, and the drool. It takes a heavy logistical toll. But the financial toll is equally massive.
Unbelievably massive.
And it is something anyone considering this breed has to calculate in advance. Let's look at travel, for instance. If you want to take a road trip, you cannot just coax a Newfoundland into the back of a compact sedan.
The physics of travel change
You
entirely.
need a bigger car.
You need a vehicle with sufficient cargo space to allow a giant dog to lie down comfortably without contorting their spine.
Oh, wow.
And you have to invest in sturdy ramps to get them in and out of the vehicle safely.
Because of the joints again?
Yes, repeatedly jumping down from an SUV guarantees degenerative joint damage over time. You also must ensure the vehicle has robust rear air conditioning.
Right, because of the heat.
And if you are booking hotels or vacation rentals, you will quickly discover that many properties have strict weight limits that instantly disqualify a giant breed.
So everything scales up.
Everything.
The quantity of high-quality food to fuel that massive metabolism, the size and durability of the orthopedic beds,
The heavy-duty grooming rakes.
right, and the cost of professional grooming sessions to blow out that undercoat. But the most significant financial multiplier is veterinary care, isn't it?
Without a doubt, veterinary medicine is largely priced by weight.
Oh, of course.
When you need antibiotics, when you buy monthly flea, tick, and heartworm preventatives, or when a procedure requires anesthesia, you are dosing a creature that weighs as much as an adult human.
That has to get expensive fast.
It does. A standard prescription that might cost $30 for a spaniel will easily run well over $100 for a Newfoundland. You are paying giant breed premiums for every single aspect of their medical care.
And there is a really profound point in all of this data that struck me.
What's that?
Every choice you make, from the day you bring the puppy home, the meticulous weight management preventing them from doing stairs, the orthopedic floor mats, the zero-impact swimming, is all preparation for old age.
It is.
You are actively trying to delay the inevitable day when your gentle giant needs health rising from the floor.
That is exactly what you're doing. The structural foundation you build for them in their youth directly dictates the quality of their senior life.
It's an investment.
It is. A Newfoundland carrying 10 extra pounds of fat for 5 years will suffer devastating joint degradation by age 8.
That's so sad.
This is why tracking their daily metrics is so critical. You need a system to record their baseline weight, monitor their daily exercise duration, log their medication schedules, and track any changes in their coat, skin, or mobility.
The documentation basically becomes part of the daily routine.
It has to be.
And the material we reviewed actually highly recommends using a platform called the VitalPet app to consolidate all of these moving parts. We will drop a download link in the description for that. but it really highlights the reality that you are essentially managing a complex, ongoing health protocol for a decade or more.
Tracking those seemingly minor daily data points allows you and your veterinarian to spot subtle downward trends in their mobility or health long before they develop into acute emergencies.
So if we pull all of these complex mechanisms together, what does the ideal match actually look like?
It requires a level of extreme realism.
Right.
You have to be patient, you must be financially secure enough to absorb weight-based medical bills, and you have to be genuinely unbothered by constant drool, heavy shedding, and a daily rhythm completely dictated by the thermometer.
Conversely, if you are looking for a dog that requires minimal grooming, can travel effortlessly in a small car, or can be left in the backyard to entertain itself, a giant breed is a terrible fit.
The worst fit.
You are inviting chaos into your life and misery into the dog's life.
Absolutely. And it is important to state that our analysis today is purely for educational insight. If you notice any of the behavioral changes or physical symptoms we've discussed in your own dog, you must always consult your veterinarian directly.
Always. This has completely reframed how I view giant breeds.
Mm.
It isn't just about having a big, friendly dog in the house. It is a fundamental clash of biology and modern architecture.
It really is a clash.
But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a lingering thought. We spent centuries selectively breeding dogs to possess traits perfectly suited for extreme outdoor survival. We designed the Newfoundland's massive frame and freezing water rescue coat to conquer the North Atlantic.
They are survival machines.
Right. And now we bring them inside our 70-degree climate-controlled living rooms, and we spend thousands of dollars on air conditioning, orthopedic mats, and heavy-duty grooming tools, desperately trying to adapt our human homes to fit their wild biology. When you bring a giant breed indoors, who is really adapting to whom?